time for breakfast. We're on Revelations chapter 11. And a reed like a measuring rod was given to me, and the messenger stood saying, Rise and measure the dwelling place of Elohim, and the slaughter place and those worshipping in it. But cast out the court which is outside the dwelling place, and do not measure it, for it has been given to the nations, and they shall trample the set-apart city underfoot for 42 months. And I shall give unto my 2 witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,260 days, clad in sackcloth. These are the 2 olive trees, and the 2 lampstands that are standing before the Elohim of the earth. And if anyone wishes to harm them, fire comes out from their mouth and consumes their enemies. And if anyone wishes to harm them, he has to be killed in that way. These possess authority to shut the heaven, so that no rain falls in the days of their prophecy. And they possess authority over waters to turn them to blood, and to smite the earth with all plagues, as often as they wish. And when they have ended their witness, the beast coming up out of the pit of the deep shall fight against them, and overcome them, and kill them. And their dead bodies lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Mizraim, where also our Master was impaled. And some of the peoples and tribes and tongues and nations see their dead bodies for 3.5 days, and not allow their dead bodies to be placed into tombs. And those dwelling on the earth rejoice over them and exult. And they shall send gifts to each other, because these 2 prophets tortured those dwelling on the earth. And after the 3.5 days, a spirit of life from Elohim entered into them, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell on those who saw them. And they heard a loud voice from the heavens saying to them, Come up here. And they went up into the heaven in a cloud, and their enemies saw them. And in that hour there came to be a great earthquake, and 1/10 of the city fell. And in the earthquake 7,000 men were killed, and the rest became afraid, and gave esteem to the Elohim of the heaven. The 2nd woe is past, and see, the 3rd woe is coming speedily. And the 7th messenger sounded, and there came to be loud voices in the heaven, saying, The reign of this world has become the reign of our Master, and of his Messiah, and he shall reign forever and ever. And the 24 elders sitting before Elohim on their thrones fell on their faces and worshipped Elohim, saying, We give you thanks, O Jehovah El Shaddai, the one who is and who was and who is coming, because you have taken your great power and reigned. And the nations were enraged, and your wrath has come, and the time of the dead to be judged, and to give the reward to your servants the prophets, and to the set-apart ones, and to those who fear your name, small and great, and to destroy those who destroy the earth. And the dwelling place of Elohim was opened in the heaven, and the ark of his covenant was seen in his dwelling place. And there came to be lightnings, and voices, and thunders, and an earthquake, and great hail. And a great sign was seen in the heaven, a woman clad with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and on her head a crown of 12 stars. And, being pregnant, she cried out in labor and in pain to give birth. And another sign was seen in the heaven, and see, a great fiery red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns on his head. And his tail draws 1/3 of the stars of the heaven, and throws them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman who was about to give birth, to devour her child as soon as it was born. And she bore a male child, who was to shepherd all nations with a rod of iron. And her child was caught away to Elohim and to his throne. And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she had a place prepared by Elohim, to be nourished there 1,260 days. And there came to be fighting in the heaven. Michael and his messengers fought against the dragon, and the dragon and his messengers fought. But they were not strong enough, nor was a place found for them in the heaven any longer. And the great dragon was thrown out, that serpent of old, called the devil and Satan, who leads all the world astray. He was thrown to the earth, and his messengers were thrown out with him. And I heard a loud voice saying in the heaven, "Now have come the deliverance and the power and the reign of our Elohim, and the authority of his Messiah. For the accuser of our brothers, who accused them before our Elohim day and night, has been thrown down." And they overcame him because of the blood of the Lamb and because of the word of their witness, and they did not love their lives to the death. Because of this rejoice, O heavens, and you who dwell in them. Woe to the earth and the sea, because the devil has come down to you, having great wrath, knowing that he has little time. And when the dragon saw that he had been thrown down to the earth, he persecuted the woman who gave birth to the male child. And the woman was given 2 wings of a great eagle to fly into the wilderness to her place, where she nourished for a time and times and half a time from the presence of the serpent. And out of his mouth the serpent spewed water like a river after the woman, to cause her to be swept away by the river. And the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened its mouth and swallowed up the river, which the dragon had spewed out of his mouth. And the dragon was enraged with the woman, and he went to fight with the remnant of her seed, those guarding the commands of Elohim and possessing the witness of Yeshua Messiah. And I stood on the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast coming out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and on his horns 10 crowns, and on his head names of blasphemy. And the beast I saw was like a leopard, and his feet were like the feet of a bear, and his mouth like the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his throne and great authority. And I saw one of his heads as having been slain to death, and his deadly wound was healed. And all the earth marveled after the beast. And they worshipped the dragon who gave authority to the beast. And they worshipped the beast, saying, "Who is like the beast? Who is able to fight with him?" And he was given a mouth speaking great matters and blasphemies. And he was given authority to do so 42 months. And he opened his mouth in blasphemies against Elohim, to blaspheme his name and his tent and those dwelling in the heaven. And it was given to him to fight with the set-apart ones and to overcome them. And authority was given to him over every tribe and tongue and nation. And all those dwelling on the earth, whose names have not been written in the book of life of the slain Lamb, from the foundation of the world shall worship him. If anyone has an ear, let him hear. He who brings into captivity shall go into captivity. He who kills with the sword has to be killed with the sword. Here's the endurance and the belief of the set-apart ones. And I saw another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and spoke like a dragon. And he exercised all authority of the first beast and his presence, and causes the earth and those who dwell in it to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And he does great signs, so that he even makes fire come down from the heaven on the earth before men. And he leads astray those dwelling on the earth because of those signs, which he was given to do before the beast, saying to those dwelling on the earth to make an image to the beast, who was wounded by the sword, yet lived. And there was given to him to give spirit to the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause to be killed as many as would not worship the image of the beast. And he causes all, both small and great, and rich and poor and free and slave, to be given a mark upon their right hand or upon their foreheads, that no one should be able to buy or sell except he that has the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. He who has understanding, let him calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. And I looked and saw a lamb standing on Mount Sion, and with him 144,000, having his father's name written upon their foreheads. And I heard a voice out of the heaven like the voice of many waters, and like the voice of a loud thunder. And I heard the sound of harpists playing their harps. And they sang a renewed song before the throne, and before the 4 living creatures and the elders. And no one was able to learn that song, except the 144,000 who were redeemed from the earth. They are those who were not defiled with women, for they are maidens. They are those following the Lamb wherever he leads them on. They were redeemed from among men, being firstfruits to Elohim and to the Lamb. And in their mouth was found no falsehood, for they are blameless before the throne of Elohim. And I saw another messenger flying in mid-heaven, holding the everlasting good news to announce to those dwelling on the earth, even to every nation and tribe and tongue and people, saying with a loud voice, Fear Elohim, and give esteem to him, because the hour of his judgment has come. And worship him, who made the heaven and the earth, and sea and foundations and water. And another messenger followed, saying, Babel is fallen, that great city, because she has made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her whoring. And a third messenger followed them, saying with a loud voice, If anyone worships the beast in his image and receives his mark upon his forehead or upon his hand, he also shall drink of the wine of the wrath of Elohim, which is poured out undiluted into the cup of his wrath, and he shall be tortured with fire and sulfur before the set-apart messengers and before the Lamb. And the smoke of their torture goes up forever and ever, and they have no rest day or night, those worshiping the beast and his image. Also, if anyone receives the mark of his name, here is the endurance of the set-apart ones. Here are those guarding the commands of Elohim and the belief of Yeshua. And I heard a voice out of the heaven saying to me, Write, Blessed are the dead who die in the Master from now on. Yes, says the Spirit, in order that they rest from their labors and their work follow with them. And I looked and saw a white cloud. And sitting on the cloud was one like the son of Adam, having on his head a golden crown, and in his hand a sharp sickle. And another messenger came out of the dwelling place, crying with a loud voice to the one sitting on the cloud, Send your sickle and reap, because the hour has come for you to reap, because the harvest of the earth is ripe. And the one sitting on the cloud thrust in his sickle on the earth, and the earth was reaped. And another messenger came out of the dwelling place, which is in the heaven, and he too held a sharp sickle. And another messenger came out from the slaughter place, having authority over the fire. And he cried with a loud cry to him having the sharp sickle, saying, Send your sharp sickle and gather the cluster of the vine of the earth, because her grapes are ripe. And the messenger thrust his sickle into the earth and gathered the vine of the earth, and threw it into the great winepress of the wrath of Elohim. And the winepress was trodden outside the city, and blood came out of the winepress up to the bridles of the horses, for about 1,600 stadia.